Here at Grand Canyon University, or GCU, expansion is something that is quite common and something we see quite frequently. From the construction to the expansion of our outreach programs, GCU is definitely a force. However, as we expand, our programs seem to be falling behind. The focus on these programs is held elsewhere where it may not be as beneficial or is not meeting the state criteria for our online out-of-state students, and in some cases even for our in-state students. With a retention rate that is falling slowly, we are seeing that this may be something that we need to take into consideration. Having experienced this firsthand as an enrollment counselor and through the helpful evaluation of the SWOT analysis and the strategic evaluation, I have found a means that may add possible strengthening of the foundation of our programs. With a strategic plan, there is a way to maximize the strength of our programs and also aid in the financial benefit that they offer. First course of action is done through what's called a SWOT analysis. This idea takes the strengths and weaknesses of the way our arts programs are built and pinpoints the areas of greatest need. It is due to the SWOT analysis that I was able to pinpoint weaknesses within the program foundations, specifically staying within the arts programs. Now, most of our arts programs lie in a linguistic or a historical foundation, while we seem to be forgetting to implement some business-based foundations as well, aiding in a more well-rounded program that may help in the future employment of our students. The second course is the strategic map. After researching the base of our programs, I was able to see how the cause and effect have a substantial weight in on our programs and their foundations and their appeal towards a consumer body. With the stakeholder tool provided by Rachel Thompson, it was easier to see which stakeholders would be directly affected and which would be the most beneficial to approach about the possible outcome. After finding the most important, you could say, of our stakeholders were from the internal party, the two that stood out to me the most that would have the greatest impact were our CEO and the department heads for each program. Once I felt as though I had properly identified the main stakeholders, I moved on to conceptualizing a strategic map. The strategic map provided by Richard Daft focuses on a select number of criteria. They are as follows from bottom to top: learning and growing goals, internal business process goals, customer service goals, and finally, financial performance goals. Building an idea from a larger goal allowed me to visualize the smaller goals that were needed to aid in the bigger picture. With the help from the strategic map, I was able to visualize what some goals would be to help build a more well-rounded program foundation that allows our students to specialize in arts but also have the business background that may be required of them out in the field of study. Some of these questions came in the form of: what are the best ways to appeal to students? How can marketing aid in the success of a program rollout? Things of that nature. With the strategics and the strategies in mind, an action plan can then begin to form. With an action plan, communication becomes easier to manage and it becomes more accessible. Since smaller goals have been established, it should be easier to achieve them so they may benefit the final goal. If an action plan does not have proper communication, it can cause in the failure of the project as a whole. It is highly important that communication is a key aspect that run completely smooth through the entire strategic plan. With this in mind, I have developed a communication plan to help best equip the action plan for a successful outcome. Thanks to the Mind Tools team, the use of a template allows for each section to have a form of communication that will best fit their needs, whether that be options like CEO meetings, team lunches, emails, things of that nature. The audience is chosen with the most focus, again, were the CEOs and stakeholders. Each member has their own form of communication, whether or not that be verbal or nonverbal. Each party has a means of communication that works best for them. Face-to-face is probably one of the most efficient ways of communication. A large amount of this communication will come in the forms of meetings and physical interactions. The communication plan is exceptionally critical for the whole project to work. The last course of action is the evaluation itself. It is very important that we see the fruit of our labor and that the culmination of this plan is actually working. Goals need to be maintained and met so all that hard work does not go to waste. TQM tools, or Total Quality Management tools, given to us by DAFT, allow for us to further dissect our evaluation to make sure everything is running smoothly and efficiently and our plan is actually working as opposed to theoretically working. While there are many TQMs available, two stood out in my mind as the best fit for this situation. Benchmarking and quality circles seem to have the most promising outcome. Quality circles, first of all, is when a group of individuals come together to sort of test drive the idea and provide feedback on what is working and what may need some work. Since there are a large number of teams involved in the building of programs, it would be most beneficial to have one or two members from each team come in and test the programs as they are built, and therein would be able to aid in the idea of what works and what doesn't work. This helps in the communication needs, so not one party is lost or not understanding of what another party is trying to do. This also helps in a faster resolution time for problems and troubleshooting. Benchmarking allows for functions to be broken up into time manageable sections, so no team is experiencing more stress or anxiety and no team is not having enough experience within the project itself. After learning through some methods, a decentralized approach may be a smart way to go about this management style. Each team needs to be aware of what they can do and what they should do to aid in the success of their portion of the plan. By doing this, it instills a sense of pride and ownership and helps strengthen the process. If all parties can achieve this goal, then it could aid in the expansion and the fiscal growth of the university.